All right. So as a reminder with Zoom, I do have my chat open and I do try to monitor it the best I can here. You can mute and unmute, use the chat, or use those reactions as we go. And our agenda this morning is User Basics Part 2. So this is getting into the modules. So it looks like a lot of stuff, but I promise it's not that bad. FAQs and quick links we'll cover first. These are very similar to each other, as well as calendar and news flash. And then we have the staff directory, so updating your staff directory and how to use that side panel, your feature column, how to activate that and put your staff information on it. And then the archive center and any extra time that we have. I will, of course, be giving you guys breaks as we go. I'll probably do a break after we do the first half, and we'll do, a longer, like 15-minute break, and then we'll do the second half. Unless we need additional breaks in there, please let me know. So when talking about modules today, modules are designed to create and hold different kinds of information. So calendars hold calendar events, Newsflash holds information about the news, FAQs hold frequently asked questions. All of the modules are organized by some sort of category. Sometimes this is a department or a specific topic. And permissions are assigned within the category most of the time. So what you see on my screen might not be accurate for you. You may see some categories. Maybe you have only a couple FAQs categories and I have this giant list. That just means those are the ones that are relevant to you, see, and you don't see all the extra stuff. When working with our modules, we kind of go through the same steps. We go to the module button on our top bar. We'll click on the category when we get in that module that we're trying to add items to, and then we'll click add an item. The cool thing about modules is that if the widget lives on a page, it will automatically update when you add an item. So for example, you have a calendar on your home page. When you add something to the main calendar category and you add an item, it will automatically show up on the homepage calendar. Any questions about this? All right. So let's go ahead. Oh, I had it on here. We can go to your website. I always like to put in /admin at the end to have it take me right in to sign in. And I'll put that in the chat as well. And if you guys can just let me know when you get logged in, that would be awesome. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Awesome. All right. So everybody is logged in. And we're going to start with our FAQs. So just to show you a little bit about your frequently asked questions, when somebody goes to a page, sometimes you have frequently asked questions on it. Let me pull up a specific page. Sometimes it's easier to do it this way. Okay. So for example, the city clerk page here, when I'm on this page, we can see a list of frequently asked questions. These are all created through the FAQs module. And if I added an FAQ to the frequently asked questions, if I added an FAQ to the city council category, it would appear on this page. What's really beneficial is this view all button. So that way, a resident can view everything, and then they can also see other categories of questions. So instead of having to know what page it's on, let's say they came to the city clerk's page to learn about the city council agendas, and then they realize, oh, I can also get information about a business license. And they could click on that side and see all the questions related to business license. So this is the benefit behind using the FAQs module rather than typing in questions and answers manually into your editor widget. Any questions about that? About why you might use this over the editor or?
I have a question. So
Yeah.
I'm just looking, I actually didn't know. I'm looking on the right side. It shows our COVID-19 test site and COVID-19
Mm-hmm.
vaccine information are still live. So
Mm-hmm.
those are no longer really valid. So how do I actually like deactivate those?
That is a great question. So we're going to go over to the module and we deactivate it from the module side.
Okay, great.
So if everybody wants to practice with FAQs, we're going to click on modules and FAQs. And you'll see that there are published categories and there are unpublished categories. Just like with documents, if it is public, someone can search and find it. Same thing with all of your module information. So because these COVID ones are live, even though they're not living on a page, they're still searchable. So to deactivate one of these, you would go to choose an action and you'll want to choose unpublish. Do you want me to actually click that for this one?
Here, I just did
Oh,
it.
okay, perfect.
Yeah, that's great. Thank
I'll
you.
probably have to reload my thing here. There you go.
No, perfect.
Yep. And then it can live in unpublished and no one's going to see those. So you'll see when I go back to that FAQs page, let me hit that view all again. It's now no longer on the side, but you have the information in case you needed it later.
Perfect.
So,
Thank you.
all right. So you'll see in your FAQs, we have all of our published categories. Each one of these will have what page it lives on. And if it doesn't live on a page, it's still accessible when someone hits view all. I didn't refresh this, so we're not gonna see it, right? There we go. So I've got my pages, number of questions, the status, and then actions. If I needed to modify information in one of these categories, I would click on the category name, and then I could click on any of my questions to update the information. The order that they're in is also the order that they show on the page. So most of what you do when it comes to FAQs is done here in the module level. This is where I publish and unpublish. This is where I modify questions and answers. And this is where I rearrange the order of these questions into the order that I want them to show on the page. I can reorder them with the arrows, or I can drag and drop. Any questions on that? All right. So there is an unpublished category called CP training. You'll see it says that it's on 4 pages because they're on some people's practice pages from a while ago. But we're going to practice adding to this category. We don't really want this to show up to the public, so we are not going to publish it. To add to this category, I'm going to click on the category name. And instead of clicking on a question to modify it, I'm going to choose the add item at the top. It's the yellow button in the upper left. So then I'm going to write my question and my answer. And you'll notice that answer box looks a whole lot like your editor widget. And that is on purpose so that it's consistent. And it's also why I covered the editor widget in so much depth. So my answer can include pictures and it can include links, documents. I can write a lengthy answer and format the paragraph. I can also spell check. So go ahead and write a question and an answer. I'm going to do, what is the temperature right now, today? And for my answer, I'm going to do find information about the local temperature on weather.com. And then I'm going to make this a hyperlink. So just to kind of show you some things you could do, I'm going to go find, what's y'all zip code?
98110.
Oh, it's loaded. So I'm going to put this, copy my link, and then I've highlighted my text. I'll click on my chain link and put in that URL. So now I don't have some number there, but anytime someone clicks on it and they go to this link, it will take them to see the direct temperature in your area. Do I think this would be a real question on your site? No. Do I think that people still kind of ask these questions? Yes. And then we would click save and publish normally to have this go live. I'm just going to click save. Whenever you're adding in questions, you'll want to make sure that you don't hit the refresh symbol to see more stuff. You'll see that whenever you hit refresh here in FAQs, it's going to say the page you're looking for used information that you entered. Returning to that page may cause the action to be repeated. Do you want to continue? Meaning if I hit refresh right now, it's going to duplicate my question and answer. So this is a little quirk I always like to point out because you don't want to hit refresh here. If multiple people are in here like we are today, instead of hitting refresh, I like to hit the back button and then go back to my category to see the additional questions that have been added. All right. All right, how are we feeling about FAQs here? Anne's good. Marlene. Okay. Dirk, Peggy. Okay, cool. So this is how we would add them. Now, what if we have a page where we don't already have these questions listed, but we wanted them to be on a page? Well, then we would need to add the widget to a page. So for example, we have this category for civil legal resources and it's nowhere. So if I wanted to put this on a page, I'm going to have to put the widget on a page. To do that, we're going to go back to our practice pages from Tuesday. So I'm going to click on the home page button. And then I'm going to turn my live edit on, which is also in our top bar. And we hid our practice pages under business. And Anne, you weren't here on Tuesday, right?
Correct.
If you want to, you can play on, my second page here, one
Okay.
that says Abigail's second page. That's just my afternoon page that I created. All right. My page is getting long here. All right. So I've got my page and I want to put my questions on here. Maybe I want it next to my Facebook feed, for example. Oh, Barbara, you didn't make a practice page either. Um, what you can do is you could either create a new one if you know how, or you can jump on the one I'm on right now and do save as a copy, and it will make a second version that you can use while I'm using this one. What's easier for you? Okay. Um, so if you want to do the save as a copy, if you click on Abigail's page, do you see that?
I'm not even seeing how to get there. Sorry.
Oh, no problem. So do you guys have live edit turned on at the top?
Yep.
Under business, if you hover over the business
Oh, there we go.
category, when live edit's turned on, you should see them.
Got it.
Okay. Barbara, do you see that now as well?
I do remember, I believe on Tuesday, Barb didn't have a mic.
Oh yeah, I'm talking to her in the chat.
Oh, got it. Okay.
I think it's a direct message, so you guys aren't seeing it in the chat. Sorry. Yep. She's direct messaging me. No. Okay. Let's see. So the first step to see them, Barbara, is gonna be, is it Barb or Barbara? Number one. Oh, you don't care. Okay, cool. Same. People call me Abby or Abigail. All right. So the first thing is gonna make sure live edit is on. So on this top bar, does yours say live edit is on? Okay. When you hover over business, is it blank or do you see this section called hidden CP training? Can't find business to hover over. So you're on the home page, your live edit is on. Is it all like scrunched up like that? Is that the problem? Because I know sometimes when you turn on live edit, everything gets really scrunched. You can't find business. Do you want to share your screen and show us what you've got going on so I can see if I can figure out what's happening? Sorry, guys, I want to make sure everyone's on the. Oh, you found it. Okay. No, no problem. Sometimes it looks weird. Okay. All right. Yeah, you can just jump on my page and I can create a copy of it. Alrighty. All right, so what we're gonna do is we are gonna put an FAQs widget onto the page. And most of all the other module widgets are gonna act the same way. So hopefully we'll get some reps in, and the repetition will help you get an idea of how to add those to your page. I'm gonna come back to this page because it's not happy with me. Versions. Okay, there we go. All right. So to add a widget, we're going to use our toolbar here. Your live edit toolbar, remember, might be on the top, the bottom, or I'm sorry, not the top, the left, the bottom, or the right. Mine is on the right here. And I can click on my widgets tab. And in widgets, I am going to go to the side that says modules. So on Tuesday, we focused on our content widgets. We talked about the editor, image, related documents, spacer, and custom HTML. And then the afternoon section, we did cover the slideshow. So if you guys want to see that one, and we also briefly went over the tab. So if you want to see that, you can. Actually, I'm not sure if we did tab, but we definitely did slideshow. So we're clicking on widgets and then modules. And this is going to show us our widgets directly related to our modules. And the one we're going to look for is FAQs. It looks like a circle with a question mark inside of it. We're going to drag and drop this onto our pages. So when we drag onto the page, we must activate a gray container. If we don't see a container like this, it's going to disappear back into cyberspace. So if I want to place this next to my Facebook feed here, I'm going to need to make sure I activate the container next to my Facebook feed and not, the one up here. So I'm activating that side container and I'm going to get a pop-up. We saw this widget options pop up on Tuesday when we were playing with our related documents widget. And I said we were going to see it multiple times. This is what I mean. It's going to be like all morning. Our widget options here, the first thing we have is called the widget skin. This is the theme that it's using. And typically we want to keep that at default. The next thing we have on there is the header text. That's what you want it to say before you see the list of frequently asked questions. So you can change that. If you don't like it saying FAQs, you can have it say something else. Maybe you want to spell out frequently asked questions or helpful information or whatever you want it to say. Next, you have the option set. Again, you're probably going to want to leave this at default. But the section that you might want to play with is the display and the number of columns. Okay, the display is going to be how many questions show before someone has to hit that view all button. So if you have a lot more than 3 questions and you want them to show, you may want to change this to a larger number. Maybe like 10, for example. And if you feel like that's taking up a lot of space on your page, you can adjust the number of columns that you have as well. The last thing you're going to want to make sure you do is select the category. So really in here, what we're focusing on is this section. Display, number of columns, and the category. The category is which FAQs do you want to show? So if I want to show the ones for the Comcast franchise agreement, I can put those on my page. And it's a checkbox, so I can put as many categories as I want on one page. You'll notice, though, that I cannot select one that is a draft. So those COVID ones would have to be republished if I actually wanted them. If I don't see the ones I want to show here, I click choose from full list, and then I get a larger drop down to pick from. And then I've got my questions. You do have this optional expand question to show answer. What that does is it gives somebody a little drop down in here to hide or show the answers. But that's up to you. What kind of questions do you guys have for me about this? We're okay?
I have a question. Mine is kind of overlapping the area that I put it in. So maybe I didn't click the right box or something. It's like half on a white space and half overlapping like a video.
So that is most likely because of the videos
How wide it is.
restraints. Yeah,
Okay.
YouTube is a little bit weird. So the best thing would be to try to move the line in between the two.
Okay, that worked.
That worked? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, YouTube has like very specific parameters of how big they want their video to be. So I've seen that happen, and then you have to go in and move the line.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. All right. The biggest question I get from people who add FAQs is, how do you change the settings? Like, I realize I want to show less questions before view all, or I want to add this in afterwards. I realize I want people to be able to use this drop down feature. If you need to get back to your widget options, that's going to be that icon that looks like a little bulleted list or hamburger menu. When you click on that, my pop-up comes back up, and I can go in and make my changes. I can select a different category, all that good stuff. And maybe I don't want to show the answers for this one. And there's no saving. It's automatic. So once I do that, I click the X. Okay. All I need to do is hit the save on the actual page. I don't have a save button on the actual widget. Right? That's kind of different than what we saw for our editor, right? The editor, every time we did something inside of my text box, I had to go in and click on the check mark to get out of it and then hit save. In this case, you can just hit the X and then hit save. All right. Any other questions or anything with FAQs that you guys had questions about? Okay. So now we're going to talk about what if I find my page too busy and I really want my FAQs to show up on the right-hand side. So some people like to put frequently asked questions, quick links, or staff directory information on what's called a feature column. The feature column is a right-handed column on your web page. And to activate that feature column, you're going to find that in the tab that says layout. Yours might be covered by your little folder icons. When I zoom out, there's the little like zoom guy here. I can see him. So if you don't see layout, you might need to zoom out on your screen. And the check mark for feature column is that second option. So I'm going to check the box, display the feature column, and then I'm going to hit save layout changes. And you'll see now it pushed everything in, and I have this new white space on the right-hand side. If I want to move things in there, I use the diamond icon on my widget to drag it, and you'll see I get this new long blue box, and I can drag it into the container and place my item over in the feature column. So maybe I want my picture there and my FAQs. And then I've got, you know, my Facebook feed here with my documents next to it, maybe. There's that weird overlap that I'm getting because of these feeds. And now I've shortened up my page pretty dramatically compared to what it was before because of where I placed everything. All right. Any questions on moving things around or activating those feature columns? Okay, so let's talk about quick links. So quick links are very similar to our FAQs in how they behave. Quick links, the biggest difference is that with quick links, we are looking at helpful links rather than questions and answers. To access our quick links, we're going to go to the modules and we'll click on quick links. It is in alphabetical order, so find Q and it should be the only one. In terms of the way that quick links look on a page, they look and behave very similar to our FAQs. So you'll see when I'm on the building page here, I have some quick links on the right-hand side. They are bullet points and there's a view all button, just like we saw with FAQs. And we have all of the quick links categories showing on the right-hand side so that someone could find other FAQs. I'm sorry, other quick links. The same principle applies here as well. Even if it's not listed on a page, the category is going to show up as long as it's published. To modify a quick link, we would go into the category by clicking on the name, and then I would click on the link that I wanted to change. And to add one, I would click on the category name and click the Add Item button. So if you want to practice that, go all the way to the bottom. There should be a category called CP Training. And we're going to click the yellow Add Item button. And in this case, instead of a question and answer, we have web address and display text. So maybe for my quick link, I'm going to use that Wikipedia page, or maybe let's just do the weather page again because I'm lazy. I'm going to pop in that web address. And then for the display text, I'm going to say, weather in Bainbridge. I don't know why I made that capital. I have the option to open in a new window. I also have the option to give it an end date if I want it to expire. So maybe you have some links related to a specific event happening or a specific construction project that's going to be ending, whatever, something that might have an end date. And then there's also a place to put in a description of where that link is taking you. So if you feel like the display text isn't good enough for someone, you could put additional information. So I've seen that a lot for like utility payments. They'll have the name of the utility company. And then in the description, it will say, visit this website to pay your water bill in the description. So people know that that's the purpose of it.
Hi, Abigail.
Hi.
When you put in the stopping date,
Mhm.
does that just make it not work anymore, or does it put it down into the unpublished or?
Yeah. So it expires, which is basically making it unpublished. So you wouldn't see it anymore.
Would it stay in the top list, or would it be moved down to the bottom list when you're looking at the published categories, or does it move it down to the unpublished?
I've never thought about where it puts it.
Okay.
I
So
would
if it wasn't
think,
working, that's what you'd look and make sure the date isn't expired.
yeah, I think it leaves it in the top and says expired, but it shouldn't show up on the page at all.
Okay.
It should just show you that it's expired, and if you hit publish, it'll keep it in the list, and then if you hit unpublish on the expired item, it would move it down. Only you guys who are editing the site see the things that say expired. Otherwise, they're basically hidden from the public.
Okay.
So I can
Marlene?
see how to.
Go ahead, Dirk.
I can see how to do a quick link, but how do you get back to where you add a new quick link page or category
How to add a category?
under quick links? Yeah, because I missed that part, I guess.
Yeah, so we didn't add a category. We just added a quick link into this one, CP training. But if you needed to add a whole category, like none of these fit your needs and you need to create a new list of links, you would use the yellow add category button up here. You'd give it a name and then you'd need to assign permissions. So Dirk, you have system admin rights, right? Like you have full access to the site?
I'm just not able to get to this page.
Where are you right now?
I have modules open and it says quick links, but it just lets me drag it over. It doesn't let me get into.
Oh, so you want to use modules at the top here.
Oh, okay.
So the modules that you're probably looking at are the widgets.
Under widgets, yeah.
Yeah, we're in modules at the top.
Okay.
I know that can get kind of confusing because they have the same name.
Yeah, okay. I see what you're saying. It's a different place. Okay.
Yes, this part is considered the back end of the site and where we make everything. And then when you're on a page and you hit the module widgets, it's basically like pulling the information from the filing cabinet and pasting it onto the page. This is kind of how I see it. Is like this, we're putting the stuff in the file or category.
Okay, thanks.
On the stop date, is that the end of that day that you put in there?
Yeah, it would be like 11:59 p.m.
Okay, and it's the time zone you're in or central? Okay, time zone.
No, it should be your time zone. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
If it's not and it's doing central time, let us know. Okay. Why can I see everybody's else practice page listed, but mine isn't showing up? You changed the name. Let me see. Oh, because these pages are not, that's a good question, actually, Barbara. So when you change the name of a page that's a draft, unless it's published to the public, you're not going to see the name update. And we don't want these published to the public. So you're just going to see it on the name, but you're not going to see it in the thing that says business. Yeah, so you're good, Barb. Yes, I see you have a page going. I see you know how to change the name. It's just not going to update in the title here unless we hit the save and publish button, which we don't want to do because we don't want the public to see our practice page. But you got it. All right. So let's see. I was doing a quick link for the weather page. And I'm clicking save. And you'll see we have our options. It's okay that this one's published because the whole category is unpublished. But we see we have our different links. If they were published, we could rearrange the order that they were in, depending on what we want to show first. And we do have the ability to unpublish, copy it, modify it, or delete. All right. Any questions about creating quick links before we go put it on our page? Okay, so we're going to go back to our practice pages. And once we're on that page, we are going to apply the quick links widget. Hi, Renee. Hi, Renee.
Hi, sorry I'm late.
No worries.
I'm
Are you going
lurking
to be lurking? Okay.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Renee's a resident lurker, you guys. So no worries there. That's how she's been describing herself the past 2 days. All right. So to apply quick links to our page, we're going to go through that same process. We're going to find our widgets tab on our live edit toolbar. We're going to go to the modules side. And quick links looks like a list, a bulleted list. And I'm going to put this on my page underneath my FAQs here. I'm going to get a very similar pop-up that I got when I had FAQs. You'll see that I have feed the skin. Typically we leave it on whatever it defaults to. So this one says it's called feature column. Our header text we might update if we don't like the words quick links, if we think it would be more helpful to call this, helpful links or resource links or whatever you think might be beneficial, you can change that header text. Our option set, I typically leave that as the default. And then we have the main section. Whoops, I closed it. Sorry, guys. Give me that box back. All right. And then we have our main section of information. How many do we want to show before someone clicks view all? How many columns? I always recommend if you're using that feature column that you're sticking to one. Otherwise, the text is going to be really scrunched. And then what category do we want to pull from? So let's say I want to show 5 before they hit view all. I'm using my feature column, so I'm going to leave it at 1 column. And let's say I want to show my city advisory groups. And maybe I want to do 2 and the citizen work groups task force. Yes.
Why don't we see the quick link we just created for the weather?
So we don't see it because I left it as a draft.
Ah,
Because remember, if it's published, the public can see it once you hit view all. So I made sure to leave it as a draft because I don't want people like that are actually coming to your website right now to see all of our pretend stuff. All right. Any other questions?
I have a question. So
Mhm.
let's say you're moving things around on the page. Is there an undo button or do you just have to move it back yourself if you put it in the wrong spot?
You have to move it back.
Okay.
Sorry.
And undo, yeah, Control Z doesn't work.
No,
So
it does not.
I thought I'd ask.
Yeah, unfortunately, there's no Control Z here. You just got to put it back. Now, the good news is most of the time it's pretty easy to get it back to where you need it to go. And that is also why a lot of people create an extra version when they're making big changes, because your undo button would be clicking on the other version. So you see, I clicked the save as copy button in case Anne or Barbara wanted to use this page. So I have the old one here, and then I have the one I'm working on right now. So my undo button, if you will, would be going back to the old version.
Great, thanks.
All right. So those are our FAQs and our quick links. And now I feel like we've made a page that is crazy full. So I probably wouldn't recommend having this amount of information on a single page. But let's say we needed to have that amount of information. One of the ways people shorten these pages up is with the tab widget. So if we go from modules back over to the content side, we can use this widget called tabbed. I'm going to drag and drop this up at the top of my page here, and you'll see it'll say tab name. So maybe I'm going to make a tab for my FAQs. I'll click next and it'll name the tab. And then you'll see it'll say drag widget here. And I can drag the widget inside of that section. I can keep making tabs with this blue plus sign. And maybe my next one is my helpful links. Yeah, it is cool. I can drag and add those in. Yes, Marlene?
I'm not able to grab my FAQs and drag it. What am I doing wrong?
Let's see. Oh, you want to hit save on here so I can see what's going on? Okay, so I see it says drag widget here. You should be able to grab the diamond
Oh, the diamond.
and then
Okay.
drag and drop. Mhm.
Okay. Let me try that then. Thanks.
Mhm.
Oh, perfect.
Yay. Okay, awesome. So that is kind of a strategy that some people use to include a lot of information without making the page incredibly long. Sorry. And then maybe I put my documents in there. And now I have 3 tabs. Maybe I put my social media feed in my feature column now. And now I've really shortened that page dramatically by just using those tabs to highlight my links, documents, and FAQs all in one place. So just a little fun widget there, the tab widget. And if I don't like the way the tabs look, like maybe I don't like them going across, this does have its own set of options, right? That's that icon next to the diamond, that bulleted list. And this could allow me to change the order. Maybe I want my documents to be first. I can drag and drop them. And the other thing I can do is change the position. So I can actually change where my tabs are showing. A lot of people are a fan of this stacked accordion one because it's almost like an expand and collapse feature. Any questions on your tab widget? Yeah, it is nice. I'm a fan. All right. So the next 2 items we're going to talk about are your calendar and your news flash. Now, before we cover those, I do want to ask whether or not you'd ever put a calendar on another page and news on another page, or if you guys are planning to have all of your calendar information on the home page as well as news. Like a lot of people just do the ones here. Some people do, you know, specific pages have their own calendars, depending on, you know, if there's like a big department that needs their own separate calendar. Okay, Barbara says not me. Anyone else have thoughts? Would you add a calendar ever? Okay, Marlene said no.
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay. You've never added it to the calendar, but maybe you should probably not. All right, cool. So I do want you to know there is a way to put a calendar on a page because it is a widget. Same thing with news. You can put news on a page, but if that's not something you guys are going to be doing, I think it would just clutter your brain more if I went over that piece. So instead, we'll just talk about how to add calendar events to the home page and how you'd add calendar event or how you'd add news to the news flash. Does that sound good? Cool. I found when I do tell people how to put it on a page, it just creates more things you have to remember. And I don't want to do that to you. All right. So to add content to our news flash, which currently has nothing on it, and our calendar, we will do that through the modules. So we'll start with our calendar. So we're going to go to modules and calendar. Now you guys have, I think, 2 calendars. Oh, you have a fair number of calendars, actually. You have quite a few calendars so that people can subscribe to different things, but I'm pretty sure all of these are on the home page. What I mean by that is when we talked about how our FAQs and our quick links widget, you saw how I could select multiple ones. You see they're all checked. So all of these calendars are showing on this home page. Why do you have all those calendars? Typically, the reason you have calendars, multiple calendars, but they all show on one homepage is for those subscribers. So your residents have an ability to subscribe to receive notifications when a new calendar event has been posted. Some people only want to know about certain things. So you see, for example, almost everybody wants to see the city advisory groups and emergency preparedness, but very few people want to have the hearing examiner events or the police events. And so that's why a lot of people have multiple calendars here. One of the other cool things you can do with a calendar is cross post. So what that means is, let's say you have a police update and that update is also something related to emergency preparedness. I can make it in the police calendar and then say, hey, this also should go to the people who are subscribed to emergency preparedness. And then all of the subscribers for police and all of the subscribers for emergency would get that same notification.
We
So
should,
that's
yeah, we should have used that for National Night Out, Barb. I didn't even think about that.
cool. So yeah, I would definitely do that. Like, you know, if you realize other people are going to need that info, they might be subscribed to one and not the other. So you'd want to cross post it so it goes to everybody. Or seemingly everybody. All right. So we'll practice adding an event. Of course, if we add a fake event in my CP calendar here, it would not show because this is a draft. If you want to see something live on the calendar, I highly recommend that you do a real event because real people will receive a notification about it. If you're not comfortable with it, use the practice calendar here. So I'm going to click on CP calendar. As you can see, it is empty. Those 7 events are old, so you don't see the older events. And we can click the yellow Add Events button. So you'll notice a common theme here. The blue buttons are kind of the generic stuff, and then the yellow buttons are the ones you most often use. Or like tennis ball green, whatever color you want to say that is. So I'm going to click Add Events. And this is where I'm going to fill out my event information. So we've got title. So my example is usually a beach cleanup. It's always something that needs to happen, right? It's always trash that people need to pick up. At least I live in Florida, so we have a lot of tourists for that. How about you guys? Do you guys regularly have to do beach cleanups?
I think there's volunteer opportunities across the island at times, but I don't know much more than that.
Yeah, there's one like every September.
I was going to say, I think there's at least one once a year.
Gotcha. Oh, it would be nice to only have to do it once a year. We have volunteer opportunities every time there's a holiday, and then usually monthly because it's Florida, and unfortunately tourists trash the beach. So always got to pick up cigarettes and all that fun stuff. Anyways, so we're going to say, since yours happens annually, we'll do an annual beach cleanup. And I can either do this single date or I could do recurring. So if you know it always happens every September, whatever, on a specific date, or the first Monday in September, so every Labor Day, essentially, I could do a recurring date and make multiples for multiple years at once. I'm going to choose single date for this, but do you guys have any questions about making recurring events? Okay. So do a single date. I'll pick my event date. Let's say this is Saturday the 9th. I do need to make sure that when I make a date, you'll see that it has the example of how it wants it written. I do need to put a space and then AM or a space and then PM in all caps, or it will be upset with me. So let's say this starts at 9 a.m. and maybe it goes to 11.
Does it default if you don't put anything in?
No, it tells you that the date is wrong if you try to save it. If you don't put anything in, it'll say, hey, you put an invalid date or time, and it'll make you go back and do it. Underneath that, you have a space for the address and then location. So you guys are getting a redesign, is that right?
I don't know.
Maybe not. Maybe I lied. Don't listen to me. I mean, eventually, usually websites get a redesign at some point. If that happens or when that happens, this might change to allow you to choose a virtual location instead, where you can put in like a Zoom link. So just an FYI there, if you guys do redesign at some point, you'll see the option where it'll say address or virtual location, like with a little drop down. If you choose virtual location, it doesn't show the address. And I apologize. A lot of the people I've worked with for the past couple days, yesterday and Monday, we're doing a redesign, so I probably just made an assumption. Okay. So we've got our address here. We can put in a physical address, location. So, with the address, and then I can put like the name of the particular section of the beach. Time details. So usually that's something where it's an event and maybe like doors open at this time. You could write that in your time details, or volunteers should show up an hour early. Cost of your event. And then we have description and details. So when it comes to the description, when you look at your home page, the description is what's showing before that read on. And then your details is once somebody clicks on the event, that's showing the rest of the information right below the description. A lot of the times I recommend that if you have a flyer that's going to be a part of your event, I would provide the flyer details in the details section. Because remember, when it comes to photos that have words on them, you want to make sure those words exist somewhere else, not just in the photo, because nobody can highlight it and translate it, and screen readers can't read it. So you do want to provide the flyer details somewhere in that details section or description. Yes.
Okay, so let me see if I got this right. The description is what would show next to the calendar, just that brief little bit, and then the read more or read on or whatever it said, that's where the details kick in?
Yes.
So you would not want those to be identical, because that doesn't really make any sense.
Right, because if you click on it, right, you'll see that it'll still show the details at the top, and then it would show the description underneath this line.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, even if we look at this event real quick, you see it's just in the description. If I had it both, it would show up in both places. All right. Beyond that, with the information, there is a slot that says photo. Now, when you choose a photo for your event, it's going to show up as a thumbnail. The only time the photo really shows up in any other place is if you feature your event. When you have a featured event, it shows up like up here, and it'll say like featured events, and it'll make a feature column. So just like we have our right-handed feature column on our pages, when you feature event, it adds a right-handed column to my calendar, and it shows a little, whatever photo you pick as a little thumbnail, and then it has the name of the event right below it. So those pictures are going to be small, so you don't want to choose a photo with a ton of, information in it. I always recommend for those flyers with the event, if you're gonna put the photo here, also, at least include it in the details section so that it's large enough.
Did you just say to put it both places?
If you're gonna feature the event, you'll want to have it in here. You'll want to have it in both places because the calendar creates a little side panel with a little thumbnail picture of whatever you throw in here. But it's going to be too small to see, so I'd put it also in here in the second place. Yes, I'd put it in both. If you don't put a photo here, that's okay if you're not going to feature the event. But if you feature the event and you don't put a photo, it doesn't know to pick the photo inside the details. So then it just shows like this default thing that says my city, and it's not cute.
I see that button featured. What is that exactly?
When you feature an event, it shows up on the calendar. Like whenever you click on any of the events on the homepage, it creates a column over here. And it shows little squares with whatever picture you put in that section that says photo. And then it has underneath those squares the event name of all your featured events. Let me see if my city has any featured events right now, and then I can show you. Because I live in a city with Civic Plus. I don't know if we will have any featured events right now. Usually they're just in the summer, and school started this week. Oh, they do. Cool. So this is the city of Jacksonville Beach where I live, and you'll see it added this column on the side with whatever picture you pick, and it is quite small. And it only shows over here. So if you want a big flyer, you'd want to put that flyer in the details because it would show really big in the main body here. Does that make a little more sense?
So that's
Yeah.
where we want to put it, but we also want to make sure we add the details for the reader on the
Yes.
same area,
Yeah, you
blind
want to,
people or whatever.
yeah, you'd want to put it either above or below the picture. In this
Do I
case,
see them using click here? Uh-oh.
yes, they didn't get training. They got Civic Plus last year, and was like waiting to see if I would get to train my own city, and then I never saw it. So I don't think they got any training because I've seen other things too where they've left like default things in there, and I'm like, y'all didn't even know you had a Civic Plus employee working here. Yeah, I'm pretty sure they didn't get any training, and I would love to. And they could get on-site training and they don't even know it because I literally live within walking distance of their office. Anyways, so that's kind of the idea, is if you use that feature column, you feature an event, it creates that column on the side. When somebody clicks on, the events in the calendar. And you saw how small it was. It really wasn't a big space for a photo. Now their event that they're having, not a big deal that it's a small photo and then it has information, because all of that information is already provided. Passive Park open house. right? The proposed information is all here. And they have the notice listed. They need to change that click here though. But this image says Passive Park Open House. So there's not a ton of details that they would have needed to provide it here because they already did. They already told people it's the city and it's to discuss plans, which is what's described there. I kind of want to know what we're doing. Is that next week? I might go. All right. In terms of the rest of the calendar, there's spaces to add links to your agendas. And there's spaces to add additional links. A lot of the times I see people for this one, if you have like an Eventbrite sign up for your event, they put the link there. I've also seen like if it's a board meeting that you have a recording of, a lot of people will put the links here as well. Or not a recording, sorry, a live stream of. They'll put the link of where the live stream is going to be. So for example, my town does live streams of the school board meetings. And so they have a link to the school board live stream there. For email, this would be if you wanted to provide someone's contact information, you know, about the event. And then we have that related calendars section that allows you to cross post to those different subscribers. And then at the bottom here, there's a featured, there's a place to upload files for related documents. So that's what we saw on the City of Jax Beach. They had the, they included a related document to the open house notice. And that's where you would upload that. Any questions about creating the calendar event?
So back down there where you had the multiple calendars, that just sends out the email to each one of those people, but it doesn't put it on each of those calendars.
It does, but because you have all of those calendars showing on the main page, it wouldn't duplicate it. It would still just show it once. What I mean by that is it does apply it to those calendars because when someone clicks on an event, right, they have the ability to check and uncheck each of these. So if I wanted it on both, you know, if I want emergency preparedness people to know about it, and it's on my public hearings calendar, they're still going to see it listed here because I have emergency preparedness checked. But if I had both checked, it's not going to show it twice. Did I answer your question? I felt like I went a little bit roundabout there. Okay. All right. Beyond that, once you have your calendar stuff filled out, you'd hit your save and publish. When you do, you get a pop-up. I'm going to do this because this calendar is a draft. We'll be okay. I'm going to cancel it anyway right after. But normally you get this pop-up to send a message to your subscribers. Subject and comments are for emails. Mobile text is for text message subscribers. And you want to make sure that that include to link item is checked. It is checked by default. What that does is it gives them a link to click on and it'll take them over to the calendar on your website to see the event. And then you have 3 options on how to send these out. You can send them on the event start date. If you do that, it will send at whatever default time you have set for the city. And we can double check what that is. We can send it out immediately, or we can send it out X number of days in advance. I see that one a lot for like board meetings and agenda, like things that have agendas where you have to notify the public 3 days in advance or a week in advance of the meeting, a lot of people will put in that number of whatever's required. Any questions on that other than what your default time is?
Just to clarify then, if we have multiple calendars checked, then all those people get this message.
Mm-hmm. Or it should. All right, so let's check what your default time is. This is something that can be edited by, I'm going to click cancel on here, by the way, because I don't actually want to send this. And I'm going to click cancel. Let's see what your default time is. You'll notice for those of you that did save yours, you will see that anything featured will show a little star next to it to let you know it's featured. And anything recurring would have a little refresh symbol on the right-hand side. To check to see when your default send time is, I'm going to go to my site tools. Not everyone's going to have access to this, only system admins. And I'm going to check my site properties. In the site properties, the first thing is going to be the default send time. So if you choose a future date, it should have a time. Oh, here's this set to 0, which is midnight. I'm guessing that's not intentional. Do you want to change it? Or is that something you guys would need to ask Melanie about?
So does that mean if that's back on where you were setting to have it send at the start of that event? Is that what it was at first?
Yeah, so the
3?
The first choice and the last choice are both X number of days in advance, but the time would be this default time, as well as on event start date is also the default time. So the only one it doesn't affect is the one that says immediately.
So that means that if they have SMS or even email or both, they're going to get that come into their inbox at midnight.
Yeah, which we probably don't want.
Yeah, especially if people have their phones on next to them. It seems like that wouldn't be a good idea.
Yeah, I definitely discovered this with a group a couple weeks ago. They said they were having residents complain of receiving notifications in the middle of the night. And it turns out they had their default set to midnight or like 2 a.m. or something like that.
I think we should change it maybe to the start of the day. When I think, don't we unlock our door at 8 or 8:30?
8.
8.
All right, let's just do it. All right, it is changed.
Dirk, do we need to let Melanie know about that, or?
I don't think anyone really cares that
I
much,
was
but
gonna say.
unless you're getting the notifications on your phone and wake you up, I don't think you really
Right.
care.
Right.
Yeah.
I feel like so many people choose immediately anyway that you might have not noticed. A lot of people just send out their calendars and choose the immediately option. But I think it's always safe to do this than have people complain about notifications at midnight and then you don't know why. All right. All right. So we've covered our FAQs, quick links, and our calendar. Any questions about anything before we do news flash? Okay. So news flash also lives on your homepage. The public does not see this term that says there are no published items associated. Don't worry about that. They're not seeing that. When I turn off my live edit, I can see what they see. They just see this right now. Anytime you have a news flash, it would pop up on that side. And people can also subscribe to receive notifications for news flashes. So there also tends to be multiple categories there, even though all of them show on the homepage. So to add a news flash, we're going to go to modules, at the top and click News Flash. It is storming out there. All right. And you'll see you have two newsflash categories, your press releases and then the police news. Right now, you'll see that they both just have one item in them, and those items have already been unpublished. I created a training one. If you want to practice, you would click on the category and choose Add Item at the top. You'll notice with news flashes, they require a start and a stop date so that your news can cycle. If you want your news to kind of stay on there indefinitely, you can just push the stop date out really far by clicking on the year. And then now I have the option to move it out to, like, 2036, for example. I can put start and end times for news. I don't have to leave it. If I leave it, it'll default to midnight. But I could have news show up at certain times and end at certain times if I wanted to. Next, I have the title. So maybe my example is, let's say, new sheriff in town, meet the next member of the K9 unit. And we can do a picture of a puppy. It'll be cute. Ooh. I have a space to put a link. And then I can put the display text. I don't like leaving it as additional info. I prefer putting where the link is going. So instead of writing, like, maybe I want to link out to a bio page for this new puppy that's joining the K9 unit, for example, I could put a link to it. And I think in my display text, I would say, view, and then whatever the dog's name's biography. So maybe it's like, view Fido's biography. So we can just pretend or view Fido's bio page. Next, we have a space for a lead in and then the full text. So this is similar to the description and details on our calendar. The lead in is what's going to show up on the home page. And then when they click on that story, it'll show the full text. So to give you an idea of that, again, I'll just use my city. They did pay for like an upgraded looking news flash here where it's real fancy. But for the lead in, you'll see it's about 1 to 2 sentences. And then when someone clicks read on, that's when you're going to see the full text. I can choose an image. That image is going to show up as a thumbnail when somebody reads the story. So you'll see I can also choose the side. So it'll say align right or align left. So you can see in this example here, it's on the right. If I put it on the left, the picture would show here and then the text would wrap it. I can feature my news. When I feature my news, it makes it the first story at the top. So to show you what that looks like as well, I'm just going to keep using my city because I already know they have featured news. So you'll see they show up at the top when somebody goes to read all the news stories, and then it will have the remaining categories below that. After that, I do have my related categories option where I can cross post. The show archives option, I just use whatever is being defaulted. So if it's yes, then we'll leave it as yes. If it says no, you can leave it as no. And then I go hit my save and publish normally. In this case, I'm not going to publish. But if I do, I get that same pop-up. So just to show you, I'll hit cancel again. I get that same pop-up I got on the calendar side where I can fill out the info. And in this one, I only have two options on start date or immediately because it's news. It will default to whichever one is more important. So immediately, you'll see I chose today as the start date. So it knows it's already the start date. I got to send it now. If I set this for a later date, maybe Saturday, for example, it defaults to on start date because it doesn't want to notify people of any news. If it's not up on the website, if that makes sense. Like, I don't want to notify somebody that, hey, this is happening, learn more, and then you click and it's not even there on the website yet. So that's why it would send it on the start date instead.
So that doesn't allow it to be on the news flash prior to the start date.
Correct. Because the start date for this, because the start date for your news has to do with when you want it to post to the website.
Got it. Not the actual event start date, but the what
Right.
you want it. Okay, got it.
Makes because sense. With news, there's not really, like, it assumes that if it's an event, it would be in the calendar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. All right. Any other questions for Newsflash? Okay. So that is your Newsflash. And any questions about how you would do this or anything else with this one? Okay. So we have a staff directory and archive center left, as well as any time for additional questions. So I think now is a good time to take a break. And like I said, I can give you a longer break of 15 minutes. Does that sound good to you guys? Okay, awesome. I will see you guys back in 15. I'm going to pause the recording so we don't have a bunch of dead air. All right, so let's talk about the last two items and then we'll have time for questions. So the last two items are the staff directory and the archive center. Now the staff directory is a little bit odd, I will admit, but we'll talk about how to use it, the widget, which is the part that's a bit odd, and then how to update people's info in the staff directory. So let's start with that. I'd like to start with using the widget itself and then editing the people in the directory after. So I'm going to go back to my practice page. Let me make sure my live edit is on. I don't think it is because I would see all of our stuff under business. Yeah, it's off. Okay. So I'm turning on my live edit. And under business, so I'm going to go back to my page. And I'll give you guys a chance to get back to yours as well. All right, is everyone back to their pages? Okay, perfect. All right, so we are going to find the staff directory widget under the widgets tab here and in modules. So just like we were for our FAQs and our quick links, we're going to find our staff directory one here. It looks like a little portrait of a person. And it's like the last one. Now, traditionally, the staff directory is found on that feature column. And I would say like 9 times out of 10, that's where it's going to be. So I'm going to drag that and put it on my feature column. And you'll see that it says contact us. I'm going to close this guy and clear my drawings. So it says contact us. And my pop-up is a little bit different. So that's why I said it's a little bit odd. It's different than the one that we saw before because our other pop-up had 1 tab and this one has 2. Our first tab has the information that we are used to seeing, which is the skin, the header text, option set, and the number of columns. But I don't have those check marks underneath to excuse me. But I don't have those check marks underneath to select what category I wanted to pull from. Instead, I use the departments and staff tab to determine the information that I want to provide. Because I can provide information about the department, information about a specific staff member, or information about all the people in that department. So if I start typing, you'll see for city council and city clerk too. For city council, I see all employees or the department. I also see that for city clerk and city manager here. If I choose all employees and I click on this blue plus sign here, it's going to fill in all of the employees that are listed in your staff directory for that department. If I want to include information about the department, like the address, I have to actually put city clerk in this case and choose the city clerk department. So you'll see now I actually have the physical address listed and the main phone number. If I wanted that information first, this information about the office first, I can actually drag and drop these. Now let's say I don't want to show this directory link here. I can actually uncheck it. Same thing with the more info. Maybe I don't want to show the email addresses. I can add or remove as much information as I want. Now, the other scenarios, maybe you don't want to show the whole staff. Maybe I just want to show Peggy. Instead of choosing all staff, I can X that out, and I can actually start typing in a specific person and click on that plus sign to just add that one person rather than everyone in that department. So it is a little bit different. So what kind of questions do you guys have for me with this?
I actually have one question. I have on one of my council committee pages, I have several names and there's a big space like in between one of them. I was trying to get rid of that extra space. I didn't know where that came from.
Well, let's take a peek at it. So which page is it?
I think it's on the ethics committee. If you go over to city advisory groups under on the right hand side under elected and appointed officials, that city advisory groups, and then the ethics board. It's this one. Let's see. Whoops.
Sorry, I didn't mean to go into the text box here. Okay.
Maybe it wasn't that one. Let's see.
I don't think so.
What about
this does have a calendar on it, by the way.
Oh, and those aren't even the ethics board items. It's everybody's, right? That would have been everybody's.
It looks like it's just city advisory groups.
Oh, the groups. Okay. Let's see. What group was that? Maybe it's
there is a hidden ethics board page. Is it this one?
oh, why is that hidden? Actually, that is it. That is the one that normally we see.
I don't know why it says hidden.
It says it's hidden?
Yeah, you see, it says hidden.
I think that's the one that shows up though.
So it's possible that it's not hidden from all site menu search and sitemap, and that's what we did to make our pages hidden. There is an option to just hide it from the menu at the top. So maybe somebody has to click on the advisory boards and then from there they click ethics board. So it's just like not showing up here.
Okay, well, that is the page. And so then there is a big space between the second and the third one.
Ah, so it looks like this is using a completely different widget.
Oh.
So a lot of the times when they're board members and not physical employees, they make it look similar with this widget called Info Advanced. So that way you're not including, people who aren't paid employees on your staff directory. So is that possibly what's happening here because they're elected officials?
Yes. Right.
Okay. So in this case, this is called Info Advanced. So I would go to the Info Advanced module. Do you have access to that one?
Let's see. I do.
Okay, perfect. So one of the things about info, like widget options, is you can see what widget it is, what module, Info Advanced, that's what it says in the pop-up.
Okay.
And then I can see the category said Ethics Board. So I'm going to look for the one in my module called Ethics Board. Ooh, there's a lot of these. Members. And this is where I would make the change. So there's probably a literal. Oh, it looks fine here.
It does.
I bet it's in the code in the HTML somewhere. Okay, so you see all this red stuff? this means it's probably pasted from somewhere
Uh-huh.
and making it look crazy. So this is one of those cases where I would highlight my text and click on the clear formatting. I don't even see, there it is, clear formatting. Ah, and you see that uncovered all the weird stuff that was in here.
Okay.
So then I would go back and then I would go in and change these to be the correct subheading. So I bet these are all supposed to be the green
Okay.
subhead ones, and all of the text underneath it's probably supposed to say normal. So it looks like it's just structural. Somebody structurally made it kind of crazy.
Okay. Okay, great.
So yeah, you'd probably just have to go in here and play with this. And you can see like this one's trying to lock this guy. So I have to go in here and delete that and then delete the space. I don't know. You might have to do a lot of
Okay, yeah, no, I can fix that.
updating, unfortunately. Yeah. So it does look like you guys are using Info Advanced pretty heavily. This is fairly common when I've seen older sites or that
Mhm.
have had Civic Plus for a while, where they're using Info Advanced to fill in their staff directory info so you can provide different information. Because all of those check mark options that I showed you didn't used to exist. So, but like this hasn't been updated since 2019. What I would suggest is that if you have people who are actual employees, to use the staff directory, because then every time you update the staff directory, it'll update the information on the widget. Whereas these, you have to go in each one of these manually and go to it. Yeah, this one's not even a staff directory style like that other one we saw. All right. Any other questions with this Info Advanced? Okay. So I would definitely check to see whether or not the page you're working on is using Info Advanced or Staff Directory. And the easiest way to do that is to click your widget options. So clicking on your little bulleted list icon and getting that pop-up will let you know whether or not you're using Staff Directory or you're using Info Advanced.
So am I hearing you say that when we want to display the staff directory, to use staff directory and not copy paste into Info Advanced? Was that the difference you were showing?
I
to
would
us?
say, yeah, I would say update it. Unless, you know, Melanie doesn't want you to and wants you to continue to use Info Advanced. But that's kind of an older setup. And I think there's more flexibility with the staff directory. Now that's my opinion. So if you guys want to keep using Info Advanced, that's fine.
But that's not what you would suggest as best practice for that type of information.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
It's only best practice for non-employees, so volunteers and elected officials. We suggest Info Advanced. For actual city employees, we suggest Staff Directory. And the reason behind that is because if you actually pull up the whole staff directory, you can see them all, phones. It's easier for the public to quickly get that information.
But if
By-
our volunteers for our committees are in our address book, is that different than staff directory? I mean, because you pull from does it pull
Are they
from our
here?
address
Oh,
book? Yeah, so I'm wondering, does that then make sense to utilize the staff directory versus Info Advanced even for our committee members?
I guess that kind of I can't give a yes or
Peggy,
no
you
on
might
that.
have Peggy
Well,
might have an
these are
opinion.
actually council members, and council members do get paid. So they would be considered staff, where committee members don't get paid, they're volunteer, so. All
Yeah,
right.
I get that, but I'm just saying to put them along the right-hand side on the particular committee page.
Yes.
If we use staff directory, can't we pull all their information from our address book, and then as things change, you know what I mean? I just thought it had to do with whether they were in our directory or not, necessarily whether they get paid or not, which widget we would use. But maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know how they set that up originally.
I just know like all the DRB members everybody's got an email through the city. And so that you can find them in our address book as well. I didn't know where this pulled from.
Right.
So whenever your site was migrated to a Civic Plus site, they would have pulled anyone that was a paid employee and put them in the staff directory here, and anyone who was a council member that was volunteer, they would have put them in Info Advanced.
So I should be able to
That's-
test this by pulling in a staff directory widget and just seeing if my board members could be, if they exist in
Yeah,
there.
if you
Okay.
guys don't have a problem with it, there are just certain cities that have rules. I'll tell you, I've worked a lot with Connecticut and Massachusetts, and they have so many rules about who can and cannot be in the staff directory, what they can delete and what they have to keep for 10 years or 20 years or 50 years. So like we have a lot of flexibility here, and that's why it's our best practice, because we go by whoever's got the strictest rules for their town, so that we're not messing up what they're legally required to do.
Yeah, it's not in it's when you try to use staff directory and look for them, they're not there. So you're right. They have it set up behind the scenes that way. Okay, thank you. Good to know.
Yeah, no problem. It's a weird question because you guys can do whatever you want, but with me, I can't say yes or no to those things because I'm trained to do whatever is, our best practice based on these stricter rules in other cities and other states. So yeah, there's things like that, that like, seriously, I worked with Massachusetts and they can't delete anything. They have to keep everything unpublished for, I think she said, for staff, for benefits reasons, they have to unpublish their staff and not delete them because their information has to be stored for 10 years after the date of their death. I was like, what? It was crazy. So yeah, anyways, that's why we got some crazy stuff going on in other places. As to what you guys decide, I would just make it consistent. If what it looks like right now is everyone that's paid is in staff directory, everyone that does not get paid volunteer basis is in Info Advanced.
So I had a question. I'm looking at my pages, and how do you tell if it's info direct or staff? Because mine is, I'm looking at 2 pages, and like one says contact us and one says members, but I think that's
Sure. So let's see. City clerk page. When I have, interesting. So when I hover over it, I should be able to click the widget options. The only widget that doesn't have widget option is a text box, which means somebody put this in a text box.
Oh, geez. Okay.
So
that could be redone.
Yeah, this could be redone pretty easily. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another version for you here. And what you would need to do is add in the staff directory module widget. Because right now you'd have to update this manually every time.
Right.
I put that here on the side. And someone did a great job of making it look like it's that.
You just copied. Yeah.
And then you'd put your all employees. Looks like you have. Looks like you might have to import Christine's photo in there. That's
Okay.
pretty easy because we're about to do that next. And then it looks like you have the department. So city clerk's office department. And then it looks like you have hidden everything except for the physical address. So it looks like that. So that's pretty close, right? Minus the picture.
Mhm.
All right, I'm going to delete that one, keep this one. This is not saved. This is a draft.
Okay.
I'm not working on the live page here. I hit save as copy, excuse me. And then let's go see how we can fix Christine's information here. So we've got our staff directory widget and we realize we need to put in Christine's picture. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go to modules and staff directory. I'm opening it in a new tab so I can get back to that page quickly. And I'm going to find that department. Oh, that's executive department, right? Yeah. City clerk's office, and I see Christine. To edit a person, I hover over their name and I click modify. To edit a department, I would hover over and choose the rename / properties. So departments are rename, properties, people are modify. And in here, I needed to add in the photo. So I'm scrolling all the way to the bottom. And then I'm going to go find the picture that was on that page, which I hope is named with her name, but we'll see. It is not. So let's see, city clerk. Executive, maybe? Do we see her? All right, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna look at the original version. I'm gonna click replace image, see if I can find where it was. Or hover over it to see the name of it. This is how I cheat it. I'll try to hover over the name and see if it pops up. No? Was not named anything? All right, one last thing I can check is the code. Image, document ID 14709. I'm going to type that number up here. There, we found her.
Oh, well, that's slick.
Yeah, I went to the computer code and it always tells you the source of the image. So you see it says source equals image repository document ID, and I can grab that number. Obviously that hopefully isn't something you'd have to do very often. Or ever. But now I've got her picture here. And so watch, when I hit save, because I've already selected Christine in my widget here, when I refresh this, it has now added the picture in there for me.
Great. Okay.
Would you like me to publish this version now?
Yeah, that looks like it was the same as before, so that's perfect.
Awesome. And so now, if Christine takes a new picture, you can update it in the staff directory and it would update here. If the information changed or your title changed, anything like that, you guys get a brand new building. You update it once in the staff directory and it updates it on all the pages that information is listed. And that can be especially helpful if you've got this column on multiple pages.
Great.
So So taking a peek at that staff directory section, when we're in the module, typically you're going to be modifying people, but you might need to remove or add people, right, that are new, or get rid of people who are retiring. So let's pretend we have a new hire, and we'll use that dog as an example. We added a new police dog here. And I am going to say this is a paid canine. Why not? So I'm going to hover over the department, and I'm going to choose add item. Adding a category makes an additional department. Subcategory would make a subdepartment. So like in executive department, we have three subcategories. And so those are all, created by hitting add subcategory. People are all called items here because everything else is an item everywhere else, right? Our news is an item, our FAQs, you hit add item, quick links, we hit add item. So it's just the same terminology. So I'm hovering over police and I'm choosing add item. And let's put the item first. It'll just put it first in the list. And we're going to pretend that we've got Fido. We'll say Fido's last name is Shepherd. Maybe he's a German Shepherd here. We have the option to put in pronouns. Then we have the title. So I could provide, let's say, K9 unit member. I've got a space for phone numbers, up to 2 phone numbers. This submits a form is if you're using a form for somebody to contact them. We're not doing that. Then we have email and show email as. This allows you to mask the email. Link and link text is usually for a department. When people want to link to the department's page. And then there's a space for a biography and then the photograph. Once I've filled all that in, I'm going to hit save and publish. In this case, I'm just going to hit save. It's going to yell at me that I didn't give a phone number or email address. So I provided no contact information for this dog. And I'm going to say, yeah, that was on purpose. So now I have Fido here. And let's say, so Fido's last name is Shepherd. I want to move them down underneath general questions. I am going to hover over that item. I'm going to choose move. And now I've entered something called move mode. So I did mention that the staff directory was a little weird. And instead of drag and drop, I have move mode where I would hover over where I want to move them and choose whether or not I want it below or above that other person. Any questions so far? Okay. So now that I've got that, let's say that Fido is retiring. You'll notice that when I'm over, You'll notice when I'm over a person who's published, I don't have a delete option. So whenever I need to remove someone, I do need to unpublish them first. And then once they're unpublished, I do have the ability to hit delete. Let me go up here. Okay. So you'll see I do have delete. You'll get a warning. Are you sure you want to delete? And I would click OK. All right. Any other questions about the staff directory or anything you want me to go over again in here? Or in the widget? Okay. Does silence mean we're doing okay? Okay. How did you guys feel about that info advance? Do you need me to walk you through it, or did you kind of figure it out?
I think it would be good to just get clarification maybe from like Melanie or IT about how we really should be using the info advance versus staff directory and like what the policy is on that. Otherwise, I think it's clear.
Okay. Yeah, that definitely makes sense. So I'll put a little, good thing my water was empty. I'll put a little note here for the post-training email that I'll be sending out probably tomorrow morning because the video takes a while to process. That a note about info advanced versus staff directory. That way you guys have an opportunity, and I'll CC her on that email so she'll know that we had questions about it.
I was going to add also versus a text box, because I think that unless we went through and made sure they weren't text boxes, it's not going to update with that staff directory. Or if it doesn't,
Right.
no, it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely would probably go through the pages and be like, okay, is this a text box? Or is it this? It might be tedious, but it will help you in the long run if you change all those text boxes. And you saw it, it's tedious, but it took me like maybe 3 minutes. Of course, it's going to be faster because I do this all the time, but you know, hopefully it wouldn't be too much longer for you.
Okay, thanks.
All right.
I do have a question. If we're when I have a specific question about our page, so you want me to wait till the end?
You can ask.
Okay, so under planning, community development, so government, planning, community development.
Sorry, my page wasn't
That's all
fully
right.
loaded, so come on, page. There we go. Government, planning,
Yep.
and community development.
Yeah, right. Yeah, there you go. Now it appears that it is a staff directory widget on the right-hand side, but when you look at it, it looks to have multiples, which is fine. But I'm not seeing where that PCD hours kind of like, that's not a staff directory kind of, is there something like embedded in that widget, or it just looks, yeah, I'm not sure where that's coming from.
Let's take a look. Okay, so it is the staff directory widget. It has planning and community development, and it looks like you have a description section. So you know that biography section? I bet that's all in the biography section.
Okay, good. Thank you. It was a little bit like, where'd that come from? All right, thank you so much.
And then I'd also say, so looks like you have a lot of tabs on here that maybe aren't supposed to be here.
Okay.
So these tabs, if you have tabs you don't need,
yeah,
probably didn't know how to delete them. So when I talked about the tab widget, I mentioned how this also has its own set of widget options in here.
Right?
Yeah. That does allow you to rearrange. And if I want to delete the tab itself, I actually hit the cancel button.
Okay.
When I go to name it, I just click cancel and it gets rid of those extra tabs. If it's one with content in it, you can't do that. You actually have to like move this widget out before you can delete it.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you for that.
Yeah, no problem. I'm going to hit cancel in case I save something crazy. We already took our break, computer. I think it's confused. Okay. But do you want me to go ahead and remove these ones?
If you want, that's fine. Yeah.
Did you already do it?
I was just playing. I just got rid of one, not all of them yet, but I was just playing with it. Oh,
Oh,
that's
okay.
all right though.
It says you're editing the version, which is locked, so I can't get
Okay.
in there.
Okay,
You'll have to click cancel on all of them and then just click
perfect.
save. Okay, cool. Awesome. All right. Any other questions before we do the Archive Center? Okay, so we're gonna do Archive Center, and then we should have about almost a half hour, I think, to be able to go over other specific pages. So the Archive Center is its own entity. You don't put archive things on pages. You just put a link to the Archive Center on a page. And then it kind of shows everything. I wish it wasn't called the Archive Center, because really what it is it's a place for records that need to be in chronological order. That's really what it is. So it's almost always budgets, things related to finance. So you'll see audits, budgets, annual capital here, the comprehensive plans, tax funds, financial reports. That's what goes in here. And what it does is, instead of it being alphabetical, like it is in the Document Center, it's chronological. Whenever you want to apply this to a page, you simply do the copy list link and put the link into a text box. You can also do copy most recent item, and that's the biggest reason why people use the Archive Center, is you could say, see our latest adopted budget, and you wouldn't have to update that link every time you added a new budget, because you've chosen the copy most recent item link, and that link is smart and knows to choose whatever is the newest thing you've applied to the website. So an example of what this looks like would be when I am on the finance section, finance and administrative services. You'll see on the side we have financial reports. These are mostly drafts here, but you'll see there's a link to the budget. That's not the right one. Whoops. Annual state and audit financial statements. Now see, this one's using a related documents widget.
It doesn't look like we've actually used this since 2013. If you, I just clicked under like adopted budget.
Oh, really?
So I think that, I mean, even just a lot of the
some of them.
names attached to this are people that don't even work for the city anymore. So
Okay.
this might be something we need like a whole separate training on, because I'm looking at like the proclamations are from 2012, the budget stopped in 2013.
Right.
So a lot of this is just really old, and maybe no one knew how to use it.
Maybe that is the
Replace the
case.
Document Center?
It
Do you put
doesn't.
stuff here instead of the Document Center?
You can put things here instead of the Document Center. A lot of the times people use it for this most recent item link. So I'm going to show you what this looks like. So let's say I wanted to show just the most recent adopted budget on my page. I would choose copy most recent item link. I would take this link and I would put it, yeah, it does look like everything got changed over, because I was like, I swear they were somewhere. All right, so let's say I've got this one here. Most recent adopted budget. Wow, I had caps lock on. I would highlight that, click on my chain link, and put in that URL I grabbed from the Archive Center. Okay, what happens is when someone clicks on this, it's going to take them to whatever is the newest one. And if I went and I added a new budget, that link would automatically update to the newest one. Questions about that?
And that's the newest one, most recent added. So if we went like and
It-
started putting a lot in there, we would make sure the
No,
the
it would
last
be whatever's the newest, like the date of
date.
it. Yeah, so if I added an item here and I made the date on it, say 2012, it would still pick this one, the 2013 appendix, because that is the one with the newest date. So whenever you add a document here, you give it a display name and the archive date. This is not today's date, it's the date of the document. So if this was a 2012 budget, I would want my archive date to be in 2012. Whatever has the newest archive date is the one that would show when you pick the most recent item option.
So you have different categories, and within each category, the newest file would show.
Yes.
So you would have one category that would be budget, finance budgets. And regardless of the name, the most recent one would show.
As long as you've picked it for that category. So
Yeah,
I
for that
would,
category.
yes. For that category, yes. But you can also copy the whole list. So if I did the list instead of most recent item, this one will work very similar to the related documents widget. When you do you guys remember when we talked about populate dynamically with the whole folder? I don't know if you remember that from Tuesday, but I talked about how in the related documents widget, I could have it pull in a whole folder, and every time I add something new, it would add it to the list. Copying a list in the Archive Center works kind of similar.
Was that a button that you clicked to populate dynamically?
Yes, I can go back and show you that. But before I do that, I'm going to show you what it looks like in the Archive Center. If I add in, I click the copy link to copy list link. When I do that, when someone clicks on that button, they get a list of all the documents. Similarly, if I wanted to use the related documents widget instead of the Archive Center, I would put those items in the Document Center. And when I use my related documents widget, instead of checking the check boxes where the document is, I choose select folder. And then every time, in this case, every time I add something to Civil Service Commission to this folder, it's going to show on the page because I chose the whole folder.
I don't remember that from Tuesday for some reason, but I'm glad you went over it again.
Did I not? I know I did it with the afternoon people for sure. Did I forget with you guys?
It was really fast, and that's
Okay.
why. Is that a button?
Are we
I
gonna
couldn't
have
remember.
access to both sets of videos for
Yeah.
review? Okay.
Mhm.
So I had a question about the archiving. So I've seen the button like archive this item, like so if we had something on a page or in the document center and we wanted to archive it, does that take this to the same place? Is it the same?
No, which is why I don't like that they're named the same way.
Oh. So you have to import it into the archive to use this feature, just like instead of importing it to the document center, you'd import it to the, where would you import it to? The archive module?
Yeah, so you would click on the category, and then I would choose add item or upload multiple if I want to do more than one at once. I would do the display name and the date, and then underneath I have a place to upload the file. I can't upload it till I give it a name though. It kind of forces me to do these 2 steps first, and then it will unlock the ability to upload the file. So to show you what that looks like,
Would be the difference between the document center and the archive center?
the main difference is that button that has the view most recent link. And the fact that this is in chronological order. If you want my personal opinion, I really don't think there's a huge benefit. I think the related document widget looks better. But it exists and it's something I'm supposed to cover.
Wait a sec. What's the related document is under Archive Center?
No,
Or-
the related documents widget that we talked about on Tuesday. I think this
Oh, got it.
style looks better than the style when you have somebody has to click on a separate link and then that link goes to this view. I don't think this looks as pretty,
Okay.
but
And so
that's my opinion.
put it in the document center and click on the folder, show all dynamically. If you
Mhm.
want to show all of them. Okay.
Yeah. So it just kind of depends on how you want to display the information. Do you want it to look like this? Do you want a button that allows someone to click on it and it goes to whatever is the most recent document? And by that I mean most recent, not most recently updated, but whatever has the most recent date on it. Or do you want to see it as a bulleted list on the page? So they're just 2 different views, but they kind of do the same thing. I'm sorry if that makes it more confusing.
No, that's helpful. I think I'll probably do 2 examples to show some people of how they could possibly change it and see which view looks better.
Yeah.
Because if you actually archive a document from the document center, you can't pull it back out, correct? I mean, you can't unarchive it.
I think system admins can.
Oh, okay.
Someone with full permission can theoretically go and undo it. Let me see. So you see how you can click like go to archives? Do you guys have that button when you're in the document center? So you used to not be able to restore them. But now, when you go here to things that are archived, there's like the make visible button. Publicly hidden. Make visible, and then you can make it a visible archived item.
Yeah, we have access to that. I can access it.
Yeah, so theoretically, you can make it available to the public by hitting make visible, and then they can go to the archives and see those. So you see how you have some that are publicly visible?
Okay.
They have to know how to get there, but that does mean they can see them. Let's see, if they type in document, they do have a view. This is why I said it's important that everything's named in a clear way. Because if they type in document center or document, they can get to the document center unless you guys hit it. I'm trying to click on it, but it just keeps going to the search results.
I've also gotten here when I have searched for things.
There it is. So you see, they can see that, and then they can click on something. And if that folder has archives, there would be a go to archives button up there.
Oh, how did you get there again?
I just typed it in the thing here. Normally, when I do search and I type Document Center, like this folder one should take me to over here. Since it didn't work, I just typed / Document Center after the .gov. And I didn't get here because I'm logged in. I can get here as a resident too.
So you're saying residents can see everything in the document center, even if it's archived?
If it's archived publicly visible, yes. So when you click on that archive button, you have two options. It'll ask you if you want to hide it or if you want to make it public. So if you click publicly visible, when you archive something, yes, there'll be a button that says go to archives and they'll be able to find it. But if you say hidden, then no, they won't see it. I don't know what folder a lot of those documents were in, but I'm trying to see if I can get that archive, go to archive thing to show up. I don't see it. There were only a couple documents that were archived publicly visible, so I'm not 100% sure where they were. All right. So yeah, I wish they were named differently because I don't think it makes sense to call this archive center when really it's really a public record center. All right. Do you guys want me to? Yeah,
When
go
we
ahead.
were going to talk about archive center, I thought you meant it was an archive and not a public records center. So yeah, it confused me from the start.
Even when I was first hired, I didn't get it for like the first month. So I hear you. I've complained about it many times. So yeah, I would recommend thinking of it in a different way. And if you are going to use it, again, you want it to be for things that need to be in chronological order, which is why typically you see budgets and financial statements in this. All right. What other questions do you guys have for me?
So if we use related docs instead of the archive center, we can still go back to the document center and replace a file, and then it would be changed automatically.
Yes. You are correct. All right. All right. So do you guys want to look at kind of what your pages are? We've got about 15 minutes. We can look at your pages and see what questions you guys have.
Access to the revealed codes is that an admin?
Sorry?
Does everyone have access to the revealed codes of the software codes, or is that an admin permission?
For
You know,
which?
Well, for when you're having a problem and something's been inserted in. You know, to see the code.
Everybody should be able to see the code in the on your pages.
Okay.
So when I'm on a page, let's say this one here, as long as it's a text box and editor widget, everybody should be able to click that code view button. That's not restricted. The only thing that's restricted is when I was in modules, you'll notice I had thing that said parameters and settings. This is the only code you can't touch. And this is because this is what keeps all of your widgets consistent looking. They're using the same styles and fonts. And so it's restricted to Civic Plus employees. And the only time it really gets changed is when there is a redesign. All right. What else we got?
I have a question. So this is for the Agenda Center. We've been trying to figure out how to, if you go to agendas and minutes over there on the right-hand side, right in the middle.
Mhm.
That last button, yeah. If you click there and over on, let's see, I want, let's see, usually over on the left, I want committee. So no, not that one. I want committee agendas. Go to maybe over, usually it's a button over on the left-hand side that you can go straight to committee agendas. But if you go up to government and all the way over to the right, city advisory groups, that one. And then okay, well, this is not quite the same. Can we just go to the agenda? How do you get to the agenda center home? Let's see. If you just type in agenda center up on the address bar,
oh yeah,
the center and go straight there.
It should take me there. That's
Mm,
so annoying. I can get there though. I know the shortcut for it. It's just Agenda Center.
there we go.
Okay.
So this lists all of our committees, and you can see that first one, Affordable Housing Task Force, it hasn't been active since 2018. There's a bunch of them like that. Like if you select the category tab over there on the right, you can see how many there are. A lot of these are not active, and we would like to move them to a, get them. We want only the ones to show up here that are still current, but we still want these available. Is there someplace else that we can move them to, or?
Yes.
Have video available, so we don't want to lose that video. They have minutes and notes and video buttons associated with them sometimes. But we'd like to take them off here because it's really difficult for the community members to find their committee without telling them how to.
Right.
One, if they're not very confused.
So this is one way you actually can archive things to the Archive Center from the agendas. You can archive agendas to the Archive Center. Like when you click it to archive it, it can move it there. The other thing is you can push them. Now this is a newer feature. You can push certain ones to the top that are more important, even though it's in alphabetical order. You can like override the alphabeticalness.
Okay.
So when I'm on a category, it'll load. Give it a second here. Actions and modify here. Or is it properties? It might be properties. I'm gonna have to let that load. I have too many things open. Okay, that's for everything.
You went down there at the bottom. That was properties. So we could collapse categories so they're not all.
Yep. It would collapse all of them. It's an all or nothing.
Okay.
That's what I was trying to see if it wasn't an all or nothing, but it is. But yeah, you theoretically could do that, or click on the category, choose actions and modify, and then you'll see pin to top.
Okay.
So that's also an option. You can pin the ones that are important to the top
Mm-hmm.
to push the other ones down. You could collapse them, or there is this other option. When I go to actions and modify again, I don't know why it's being so slow for me. Sorry. You'll see it says associated archive category. So this is the one exception. I know the Archive Center is super bizarre. You can archive to the Archive Center if it's an agenda only. So I can actually put it in a category to default, to put agendas somewhere and minutes somewhere. I'm not going to save that, but pretend that I did. And then I have these bulk actions where I could bulk archive them all to that section. So that would be a way to totally get rid of it from over here and move it somewhere else.
Okay.
And that might be the right option, because you have in the description, when I was on that page, or agenda center. When I was on the agendas here, it says previous year's agendas and minutes can be found in the Archive Center. And you already have a link over to here where someone could select one of these categories.
Mm-hmm.
So it might make sense to make a category in, maybe this is how you use the Archive Center, is you make a category with the name of, Affordable Housing Task Force agendas and then Affordable Housing Task Force minutes, or have just one category named Affordable Housing Task Force and archive the agendas and minutes to it.
Okay, but not videos. Right.
It should, let me double check. I'm going to make sure that it would take that with it. So let me send a message to somebody who's probably tried that before. Let me see if one of my coworkers has attempted that.
Okay.
Okay.
And the pin to the top feature, you can do that with several of them.
I think it limits it, I want to say, to 3.
Okay.
Let's try it.
Probably wouldn't.
Which ones would you want to pin?
Let's see. Oh, my button's not working. Come on. Well, let's
So
see.
it's not just me.
Yeah, Civil Service Commission.
Okay.
Like, what are we still? Climate Change Advisory Committee and Design Review Board, Environmental Technical Advisory Committee, Ethics Board, Historic Preservation Commission, and Police and Municipal Court Building Name Ad Hoc Advisory Committee, public
That's
meeting.
a name.
Actually, that public meeting one, no, we have to talk about that one. I'm not sure. That one's in the wrong spot, I think. Race Equity Advisory Committee, Steering Committee. That's a new one too. Traffic Operations Committee, looks like. Yeah, those.
Let's see.
They're all still current.
Let's see how many it lets me to do this with.
Then I'm kind of thinking if we collapsed them, it might, if we could do that.
Yeah.
I'm thinking collapsing would be a good option. Is there a way to unpublish some of them?
Yeah, you can unpublish whatever you want. It just wouldn't be available to the public. unless they ask for it. Let's see how many it lets me pin.
And we do want to keep them available to the public.
Right.
Avoids a lot of public records requests.
Okay, I've got 2 pinned. Civil service and climate change. Okay, design review. Pin. Environmental. Okay, I've got the 3 that I think is the limit. Maybe they removed a limit. Let's hope so.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yeah, this is something I've never tried, so this is nice to be able to do that. I feel like there's always, different there's so many different things you can do that there's always different needs for each place. All right, let's see if I got ethics on there too. Okay, kind of looks like there might not be a limit. You might be able to pin as many as you want here.
Nice.
Let's see if it was 5, because that's the only other number I could think would be. But no, there's still an option to pin it. And then let's do the collapse option. I'm just going to do all these for you. And it should still be alphabetical. It's just these are pinned. Properties, collapse, save. Pin to top.
Do you have to do the collapse for each one?
No, that collapse was an automatic collapse for everything.
Okay.
It's all or nothing, so it'll force it.
Oh, look at that. Nice.
I like that so much better.
Oh my goodness, no kidding.
Instead of
Cool.
scrolling and scrolling and scrolling to find the one that you want. Perfect.
Yeah, that looks great.
Yay! And it does look like there's not a limit on that pin to top, so you could keep going. I got to police and municipal court.
Okay, great.
So you just, on each one of these, I'm clicking actions and modify. And then scrolling down to the pin to top and hitting save changes.
Okay, super.
Awesome. And I learned something today too, was that there is no more limit. I probably missed that on a release note.
So much better.
I'm sure there was a release note that I did not read that said that, but I can only have so much information in my brain.
Right.
All right, cool. All right, any other questions, you guys? I know we're like almost right at noon for you, but I can answer probably one more.
I actually have a question for Dirk. Does IT take care of adding new employees to our Civic Plus? Where they pull the department stuff from? Is that part of you guys' job when somebody's new?
I'm not sure. I don't do it.
Okay. Just curious how they got there. Thanks.
That's fair. So that might be another question for Melanie. All right. Anything else, guys?
Great training, Abigail. Thank you so very much.
Thanks. I'm glad I can help.
Thank you.
Our resident expert retired at the beginning of July, who I always went to for everything. So this was really timely. Thank you.
I was gonna say, so you've had almost a month without him.
Yeah.
So
And hey, I've got her phone number at home. She said to call. I'm like, yeah, right.
Oh, no, should enjoy retirement. All right. Well, I'm gonna send you guys out. Like I said, it'll probably be tomorrow because the other session after that, that video has to finish processing. So it'll probably be Friday morning at some ridiculous hour for you because I'm in Eastern time. So I'll probably be working on it when it's like 6 a.m. for you guys, maybe even earlier. Sending out that info to you. I'm also going to include, other than the videos, I'll have my PowerPoint. I will have a module list, so it'll kind of explain the modules and that link to the Help Center, as well as a reminder about some of the things we covered. So things about editing links and different types of links you can put on a page, how we could do the custom HTML to embed Facebook and YouTube, and then a reminder about your paragraph formatting and how to figure out what widget you're using. All right. Sound good? Sweet. All right. Enjoy the rest of your day.